Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Bitcoin Generations. We talk about Bitcoin to baby boomers, new Bitcoiners, talk about a lot of stuff on here. So anyway, it's just been crazy weekend, lots of news, lots of stuff going on in Bitcoin. Yeah, so kind of jump right into some things right now because I really think it's important to get this signal out there. Um, if you are new to Bitcoin, um, and you've got questions uh, about about Bitcoin, about compared to everything else, there's a lot of things swimming around, like stocks and real estate and gold and Bitcoin, and like it's all just a mishmash. Man, you're in the right place in your Bitcoin journey. You are definitely right where you need to be uh, in terms of desire, in terms of wanting to learn. So I can't. Let me just check an audio check here. Just make sure that we're doing okay. I think yes, good. Um, yeah, you have the desire, you have the passion. You see a problem, maybe. Uh, but obviously, you know, if things are not working, like why is that? You're in that question. You want to know a lot more about what is happening in this world. It's not going well, right? We know there's a problem. And if you're still in the mystery part of like why is there everything happening the way it is, then you need to go down the rabbit hole of understanding the problem really, really fundamentally and deeply, because that, my friends, is the key to understanding Bitcoin. If you understand the problem, you understand central banking, you understand what happened in 1913, um, and what happened in 1971, what's the history of gold is. There's so much to learn, right? You can't learn it all at once, but if you understand that there is a problem, then you will start to be like, yes, I can dive in this. I am very open to understanding what the solution is if I understand the problem. So kudos to you, and my hat's off to you if you do understand that there's a problem, because then your mind is open to understanding what the solution is and why why is this old dude in black hat with this funky looking wood background talking about Bitcoin, and why Bitcoin? It's all right. Okay, so there's a whole lot of answer behind that too. But let me just share with you a couple of thoughts that I've had this week, as we kind of dive into this. Uh, uh, had some conversations. Some people have been contacting me. They're like, I'm really curious about, like, what are your thoughts on, all these things, and kind of some investing things. Had some young people, had some older people, and my thoughts are this. It's like just what I just explained. If you understand what the problem is, then you would understand why there needs to be sound money. You would understand that central banking and fractional reserve banking has been a problem since it started. It's designed to have the common working man feel the pain, to pay the price of all of the spending that happens, all of the printing of money, devalues, defaces, debases. I mean, the money that's sitting in your pocket, the money that you have in your bank, everything that you call money is a melting ice cube. Is a thing that you cannot keep it from becoming worth less. So it's like you can be frustrated. You can be like, no, we've got to change the system. We've got to fix what's broke. The old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, if it is broke, then you should fix it, right? Well, maybe if that's a bicycle or an automobile that you need, okay. But when you talk about, the gravity and the corruption of the Wall Street and the entire banking system, which has tentacles into every single industry and every single path of anything that you're doing in your life that runs on money, runs on the rails of the traditional fiat system, you're toast. You can't get out of that system unless you have another way that's solid, that's more solid, that's not, not hopium, not just some sort of like, pie in the sky, like, oh, my little my this coin or my that coin, has like sprung up, and it's like, oh, look, it's look like a little fountain, a spray of, like fireworks or something, like you see on July 4th, oh, look at that. That's so amazing. I love that. Be serious. I'm just going to call out every other coin, even the one that's in the number 2 spot right now. The one that has a CEO that is, every coin that has a CEO is like, no, based on proof of stake. What are you getting at here? No, it's not based on proof of work. It's not based on consensus that's run by a worldwide ledger. No, no. Bitcoin is the only one that has like checks and balances, like the nodes, the miners, and the network of people who are buying Bitcoin, and self-storage, self-custody. This is the way. I mean, so, if you don't get it all right now, don't have a conniption, don't have a seizure, don't get your panties in a bunch because you don't have it all figured out in the very beginning. None of us did. None of us had it figured out in the very beginning. But you see it when you see it. Okay. And it's like, okay, you're just sitting there. You're sitting here waiting for the sun to rise. You're sitting at the beach, let's say. Okay, here you are. You've spent all this money. You're at the beach and you're sitting there. It's 5:30 in the morning, and the sun's going to come up. All right. Well, guess what? At 5:30 in the morning, it's not time for the sun to come up yet. Maybe it's time at like 5:50 or 6 o'clock or whatever time the sun rises. But you're there early, and you don't see the sunrise. You need to be patient, because guess what? That sun's coming. It's going to come up, and you're going to see it. And then you're going to be like, oh, I'm getting my vitamin D. I'm all good. Be patient. This doesn't happen overnight. We didn't screw up this system as bad as we have overnight. And yes, baby boomers, we are responsible for, a lot of the debt that we've created. Own it. It is what it is. And it's what we were, kind of the sandwich we were made, and that's what we ate. But it's okay that you don't get this all at once. And so with that, I would just say, I was on a call earlier, and a lot of people in this call, and I had an opportunity to pipe up and come on the stage and speak. And I'll tell you, I mean, it was just very, very, very clear to me that the topic was, I mean, one of the topics that I spoke to was, it was how do we protect the culture of Bitcoin? How do we protect the culture of Bitcoin? And so, in my career, like when we were responding to 911 calls, and we would get um, these calls for who knows what, we would respond. There's a certain amount of people that are in play on a call. There's dispatchers, there's driver operators, we're getting to the call, then there's another crew that comes, and they're the ambulance drivers, and they're, paramedics. We work as a team, but uh, everybody has a role, right? And that's kind of like the Bitcoin miners and the Bitcoin node runners and the people who are, the exchanges maybe, and the buyers and the sellers. Everybody has kind of a role, and they play within their range of what they're assigned to. Um, and the point I was trying to make in my response was that, like, hey, you don't have to trust in Bitcoin. You don't have to trust. This is a trustless peer-to-peer network of exchange, peer-to-peer exchange, monetary exchange. We're talking, if we agree that Bitcoin is money, then I can send you Bitcoin for something that you have that I value. And the same in reverse. You can send me Bitcoin for something that I have that you value. So it solves the problem of, like, hey, I've got a bunch of chickens and you've got a bunch of cows. Well, how about we figure out, like, but I don't want a whole bunch of cows. I don't maybe even want but half a cow. It solves the problem. So we have a medium of exchange, and it solves the problem of store of value. Um, you know, because we can agree that I want some of what you have, and you have Bitcoin. I'll take that for these chickens. Okay. I realize this is very basic. Okay. I know it's very basic, but the point I'm trying to make here is that, you know, the culture of Bitcoin is maybe a few levels deeper than what you might at first think. And I would say that, you know, the fact that you don't have to trust. Hey, okay, okay, all right. I don't have to trust. Um, and oh, it's open source. What does that mean? It's like I can verify the software and the code. I can verify that there's maybe something that isn't good. That maybe there's hundreds or thousands, possibly even millions of eyes watching Bitcoin software to make sure that since there's so much capital and so much store of value in Bitcoin, if we consider it money, there's going to be a lot of people watching the Bitcoin software. There's for those of us who are kind of watching some of the stuff that's going on right now, there's disagreements in this right now. Uh, and it's I mean, you would expect that. You would expect that there's anytime you have billions of dollars flowing into an asset, and you have software developers developing, uh, you know, the, you know, um, making sure that hackers aren't able to attack it, and working on different attack vectors, and making sure the software is running as has been designed. Um, there's going to be some disagreements. There might even be some hostile sort of takeovers, if you will, some corporate people maybe trying to get their hands in the till, so to speak, so to kind of like steer the development a certain way. This is probably all predictable. This is all kinds of stuff that happens in any kind of like endeavor that man is associated with. Don't want to get too far out on a tangent there, but the culture of Bitcoin, it does matter. It is a thing. And there is a multiple facets to this, because we're human. We make mistakes. We want to get uh, we want to get our fingers in stuff and have some control over, something. It might not be enough just to like hold an asset, even in cold storage. We've never had, an asset that you could, actually hold in cold storage that doesn't like inflate and like become worth less. So this in this case, we're kind of like, forging history. So it's pretty amazing from that side of things too. But how this question came up: how do we protect the culture of Bitcoin? And so I'm not going to be like, like, well, we need to wall off the gardens and we need to kind of like protect, and we need to like, make sure that nothing ever changes, because you know what? Things do change. And I think this guy Bitcoin Mechanic is making some pretty good arguments regarding, hey, they seem to be pretty common sense arguments when it comes to like, how we're going to protect, kind of protects from some obvious things that are coming into that want to, based on things that we've learned already in the 16 years since Bitcoin started. And he makes some common sense arguments, I think, that are grounded in solid, logic and reasoning, at least as I understand the technical arguments. Okay. So let's just leave that there. But I think the larger point is look, this is monetary. This is a lot of people are considering Bitcoin money. They're considering it a medium of exchange. That is how I define that. A medium of exchange, a store of value, something that we agree that has value. And don't take my word for it. I mean, you look what's going on in Washington, D.C., what's going on Wall Street, all these big, huge, largest companies on earth that are buying, some very publicly and some very privately, companies are buying a lot of Bitcoin. Do I need to like go ad nauseum into the examples? I don't think I need to, but as of this date, we can look, and they're there. Okay, so like, uh, uh, yeah, I mean, it kind of goes away from the point that I'm trying to make, but there's a lot of private and public companies buying Bitcoin, in the way that they can. Some companies can't purchase Bitcoin outright. And so they have to kind of go in through the back door. They have to like, invest into something else that has an exposure to Bitcoin. Um, the things that Michael Saylor is doing with strategy is I'll get to that in a second. But, just touching on this a bit about how do we protect the culture of Bitcoin? Well, my answer to that is like it has been with a lot of other things in life, and that is you can vote with your feet. If you're in America, and if you're not, hopefully you can, because it's getting difficult to vote with your feet in some places. But I would say in America, you can vote with your feet. And what do I mean by that? You don't have to you don't have to just kind of sit on the sidelines and maybe buy Bitcoin on an exchange. There's other things you can be doing. And what do I mean by that? Well, this isn't exactly the baby steps strategy that I kind of like I try to encourage people to do. All right. But I try to encourage people to start at the beginning, and then you take things in baby steps. One of the things as you get further along into Bitcoin is you find out that in order to help decentralize the network, which is a good thing, decentralizing the network, but with more miners and especially more nodes running Bitcoin software, and it could be uh, several different versions of Bitcoin software. It could be Bitcoin Core, or it could be Bitcoin Knots. And this is where some of the big arguments are going on right now. Uh, I have my personal preference. I choose to run Bitcoin Knots. Now, I used to run Bitcoin Core, and but let's just get into the reason why I think running a node is important. And that is because it helps decentralize all of this uh, consensus that's going on. Okay, consensus meaning you think of all the transactions that happen and they get packed into a block on the blockchain. Okay, these blocks have to get agreed upon by the entire worldwide ledger of all the Bitcoin nodes, and they do this. It's fascinating. Every 10 minutes. So a block is added to the blockchain on average about every 10 minutes. And in order to do that, every one of those nodes through consensus process via the software agrees that this particular block is now part of the blockchain. Okay. It's no small thing. So, how hard is it to run a node? It's not hard, and it's not expensive. That's the beauty. It's designed in the beginning by Satoshi Nakamoto to not have to be that expensive, relatively cheap. And the electricity to pay for it is relatively cheap. And so back in the day when they first started running these things, they were running the whole thing on a laptop. They were mining on a laptop, and they were running a node on the same laptop. They then it was like, this is becoming, I'm way simplifying this, but this was becoming way too much. We need to like have the nodes like be separate, from the miners. And so they separated the two. And the way we look at it now is you have a node specific thing, and you have miners that do a specific different kind of thing. And so the beauty of running a node, though, is that I was talking about open source software a little earlier, and I was telling you that you can run a node and on Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin Knots. It's both of them are open source software, and you can run this software, and you don't have to have a fancy server. You can buy a server that's designed for running your own node. You can. There's a couple companies that do that. I happen to be wearing a T-shirt of a company that I like. I don't get paid anything for them to anything like that. But I sought them out after doing a lot of my own research. It's just something that worked for me. I was trying to, in fact, I was trying to run their software on my machine right here, which I have a particular kind of a Mac that really, it has a certain kind of security chip in it that really didn't want to help me run the software. But I will tell you where it is. In fact, I can go there right now. I can show you. I can show you where it is. You guys ready? Okay. So we're going to look at GitHub. We're going to go to GitHub. And we're going to go to the tab right here so I can share my screen. And you're going to see where to find the Start9 OS. Okay, Start9 Labs is the name of the company, but they provide some public open source software for you to be able to see. And I'm going to just check this real quick. So this is the GitHub website, and they are, let me see if I can find, Yeah. Couple of technical difficulties here. Just stand by 1 second. There we go. And I want to check right over here. And so this is the Start 9. There we go. Okay, so this is GitHub, and this is where you can find all kinds of open source software. All right, now you want to run your own node. First of all, I would recommend going on Start 9 on YouTube and looking at their videos on how to run their software. It's very intuitive. It's not hard to do, and they would point you to GitHub to look at this. But this is the Start 9 Labs Start OS, and that's what it is. It's Start OS. It's the operating software, and they are a hardware company. They do produce several pieces of hardware. They're small servers. They're little tiny, I think, very small servers for the home, like residential market, but you could use it in a small business as well. And you can run all kinds of open source software apps inside there that you can decide to run your own. You can run your own Lightning node for like small payments, back and forth, transacting for a business or for your personal. There's all kinds of other ones. There's a lot of different uses that you can do. You can have your own data on there. There's people that are actually trying to start running their own AI on there. That's their own personal AI on their own node, on their own server, this Start 9 server. But let's just say, for this purposes of this discussion, you're not interested in all those other applications. Right now, you're interested in running your own node. Okay, that's what the conversation here is about. So you can run your own Start 9, your Start OS right here. Okay, so you would come along here and you would take a look at all these, and you would see that, let's see, it helps to check out this, like, like, what am I looking at here? The first thing you can do is you can go to the README app and you can see, let's just take a look at that real quick. And it says, welcome to the era of sovereign computing. Start 9, or I'm sorry, Start OS is an open source Linux distribution optimized for running a personal server. It facilitates the discovery, installation, network configuration, blah, 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 and health monitoring of self-hosted software services. Okay, and so it goes into all the different things that it can do. But it does say, again, that, it's, you can do it several different ways. You can buy a Start 9 server and you can do it that way, which is the easiest way to do that. They offer two different ones from the last time I know it, but they're out of those quite a bit because there's a lot of people buying them. Or you can build your own server. And this option is easier than you might imagine. And there are 4 reasons why you might prefer it. Okay, you already have hardware and you're kind of a DIY kind of person, maybe a little bit technical. This is right up your alley. Okay, you want to save on shipping costs. You prefer not to divulge your physical address. You just like building things. To pursue this option, follow one of our DIY guides. Okay, so you can just click right into this, and also, just so you know, this is open source software. This is something that they paid their developers to develop. It's free. Start OS on GitHub is free. Okay, it wasn't free to make, but it is free for the public to use. Okay. Now, because these guys are so good at like bringing value to, they're just like bringing the value. Here it is right here. There's a lot of people that are like, hey, I want to pay them back for this kind of thing. I'm using this. It's really great. I love your software. I've been using it on my hardware or something. I want to contribute. So you can donate to their work, which I highly recommend when you consider some of these open source software projects. contributing right to the developers themselves when you find something that you really like. I really like Start 9, just because I found them to be very high signal, very good. I've had until when I got my system set up, it's been just fantastic since then. And every problem that I've had has just been operator error. And I just did a little bit of interest in trying to fix the problem, and it was like, boom, we're right back up and running. So I've also had some great success working with some friends of mine in and people that I met at our Bitcoin meetup as well, and they've also unlocked a lot of stuff to help me understand and learn about what I can do with my Start OS. And I recommend that you look at that and you take a look at that, and remember that you don't want to trust, you need to verify first. Everything that you do. um, People, uh, make sure you don't take pictures of your seed phrases. A lot of common sense things, but a lot of people they get they let their guard down, they don't think. It can happen to anyone, and really, really just try to slow down and take your time with these kind of things. Am I advocating for every new person in Bitcoin to start running a node? No, no, I'm not doing that. I'm encouraging you to look at when you're ready and you understand the value of the decentralizing more of the power that's in Bitcoin, decentralizing the power of running a node, of the Bitcoin network, of maybe eventually learning how to do mining at your home. You can even heat your home with the heat that comes off of some of these Bitcoin miners. It's absolutely amazing the work that's being done in this industry. But maybe that's not all your jam. That's okay. That's okay. You don't have to do any of this. You don't have to do any of this. You just want Bitcoin. Good to go. Get your Bitcoin and take really good care of it. But when you are ready to really dig to just grow your roots down deep into the soil that like where it has the deep water, to get to the roots so that you can always stay watered and stuff. 100%, man. I think running a node is a great idea, and you'll learn a lot by doing it. So if you're just one of those people who's like, no, I can't do that. I'm not, no, I 100% respect for where you're at. But if you're one of those people that's like, man, I love what I'm learning. I just, I want to kind of, I feel comfortable with what I've learned and I'm ready to go to the next step. I want to learn how to run a node. Okay, perfect. You're right in the right seat for that. And this is the cheapest way I've found to be able to run a node. Now, I'm not saying that Start OS is the only way to do this. There's another company that I know of. Umbrel is another one that a lot of people that I know of have said that, hey, Umbrel is a good source, is a good solution as well. Okay, my hat is off to those guys too. I mean, no shade to them, no shade to anybody who's developing, good and sound open source software. But let the market kind of decide. And right now, I only know those two that are for running your own node. There may be others that are also very good. I know of people who know all that stuff, but I wouldn't be able to recite all the different companies that you can get hardware or software from that can run a node. But that's okay, because you got to keep it simple in a lot of things, and don't get too far over your skis. So anyway, this is the README document on the GitHub website for Start OS, and we went over here and we were kind of like Start 9 Labs, and it's github.com, and we went to Start 9 Labs and Start OS. Okay, and then we went down in here to the README document. Okay, very simple. And that's really as complicated as it is in terms of this part in the initial introduction to you on this. Okay, so let's step out of here and go back over here to where we were. All right. Now, full speed ahead. So, I think we kind of talked a little bit about, how do we protect the culture of Bitcoin by starting a node, by start running a node, and it's amazing. I mean, some of the people in software developers on these things, man, they are passionate about this, and I mean, it can be a little much for me. I'm just kind of like, dude. And I come from this, being very passionate about some things too, so I can understand that. But sometimes your logic and reasoning gets clouded by your emotions, and so I think you really want to be kind of listening for those kinds of arguments when they're made. Um, but um, yeah, so wanted to cover some more ground here before we get out of here this evening. Um, and let's see, where was I going to go with that? Probably right over here, and talk a little bit about some of the other things that have been going on in Bitcoin. Um, did you know? Did you know one of the things that we talk about sometimes is the uh, when we bring up the time chain calendar? You ever seen that? Well, uh, kind of got a new uh, a new chart here to kind of show you something here. I think it's maybe kind of worth looking at. This one is a let's see. This one is from Rational Root. And we've talked a little bit before about thinking in terms of sats and not dollars. Um, I would encourage you to continue to try to see here. We've talked a little bit about, $1 equals 865 sats. And we've seen that number kind of come down from the 900 range, and it's in the mid 860s now. So 865 sats for $1. And remember, between the sats and the dollars, remember the dollar is the one that's melting. That's the one that's inflating and becoming worth less. Okay. It's kind of counterintuitive. When you hear the word inflating, you think, oh, it's becoming bigger, it's becoming worth, it's inflating, getting bigger. Well, it's getting bigger and more full of hot air, is kind of what it's doing, and worth less. Okay. I thought this was kind of interesting. Just the part here about after the second halving, it came down, the trend line was kind of coming below 100,000 sats per US dollar. And then now the trend line is coming down below 10,000 after the third halving in 2020, coming down below 10,000 sats per US dollar. And as you see kind of like the overall orange line here, you see what's going on. And what is going on is the inverse of this is actually you would see, the price of Bitcoin and US dollars going up. They've inverted this, and you see the number of sats per US dollar going down. And I kind of wanted to bring that to your attention, because the overall trend is that we will eventually see many fewer sats per US dollar, eventually going to one sat for $1 US. And I think we're going to be seeing that. I mean, you could probably project those numbers off of this. I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to say, watch this over time, because this, and you might even follow the Rational Root on X or wherever you want to follow him. But I think this is going to be an interesting mark for us to continue to watch as time goes on. We are looking at, see, he's got out here, here we are, 2025, We're over here, like August 9th or something. Is that where we are? Yeah. Um, and it's no, it's August 10th actually now. Uh, but marching it out to 2029. I mean, look at this thing. It's going to be volatile. It's going to be jumping around. But yeah, you think that's going downhill? Oh yeah, it's going downhill. Your melting ice cube is going to be all melted one of these days. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Not financial advice, but you might want to get some Bitcoin. And okay, let's moving on. So one of the other things that I've kind of described a little bit before is and I try to keep things simple. But I had a guy asking me this week about stocks and all this stuff. I mean, dude, I tell the guy, I said, dude, I'm not a stock trader. I said, I looked at that and I was like, oh, this is a really fast way for me to lose a lot of money. And I was like, no, I'm not comfortable doing that. So, but I have learned that there are some really, really sharp people that are doing that and that have learned about Michael Saylor and what he has been able to do at his company. What used to be called MicroStrategy is now called Strategy. So what he's doing though is I love this, the way that they made this analogy is that Michael Saylor has built a transmission, and the context of what they're saying is he's built a transmission for people to get into investing in Bitcoin, but that it hold on a second. It doesn't have. It's like you invest in like first gear, and then it can leverage it up to like sixth gear and overdrive. That kind of analogy, and so to people just can't understand. Like what in the world is he doing, and how is he getting these returns like this? It's like he's been able to figure out how to hitch his wagon in a certain kind of special transmission, gear to, hitching a horse and buggy type wagon to a, like a Ferrari transmission, kind of thing. So it's like he's an engineering background, and he's been able to figure out a way to get incredible returns using legal means. Everything that is being done is completely within the apparently the rules of all this trading that they're doing, and within the SEC guidelines. And I think it's just absolutely fascinating to watch these people go through all this. But anyway, just wanted to touch on that for a second because I thought that analogy was very good. And recently, also been listening to some guys out of Utah, some Christian guys out of Utah that were talking on a podcast, and they were discussing. This was a year ago. The podcast I was listening to, they were discussing that Bitcoin really is kind of still a speculative asset, and they were looking at trying to describe for some Christians how to explain Bitcoin, and how to explain like stock investing, and how to explain real estate and all these things. They wanted to cover all this ground so that these people who are listening to this could be like, oh, I can make sense of this stuff now, and then I can wisely invest my money and stuff. And I just wanted to say that it's like, it was just hilarious because this was a year ago, and like in a year so many things have happened. Like August, can you imagine where we were last year, August 2024? Okay, if you're in the Bitcoin space, August 2024 was like, every eye in every kind of everybody's, every community was watching the American, presidential election, and all the, like, what was the latest news of the day, and what's this guy doing, and what's this lady doing, and it just got to be like a little too much. And so it was, I thought it was fantastic about how this podcast was going. And then, they're at the end of the podcast, they're discussing this guy that they interviewed. And they're like, well, at the end of all this, it's kind of like, well, you know, my, they didn't really have a kind of a takeaway, like, we're all in. We think this is a really good idea for you to. They didn't have anything like that. I was like, wow, okay. So I'm not really clear exactly. I mean, you sound like you're excited about Bitcoin, but it's like, do you have any? I mean, I understand you don't want to give people financial advice, but what's your takeaway on this? So I think at the end of the day, we kind of need to have a, kind of, especially now, I think we can say, you look at the long-term trends, you look at the volatility, and you understand that volatility is like, I was just saying a second ago, like Michael Saylor has built a transmission so he can attach it to a covered wagon, so to speak. Okay. Which is, maybe it's a poor analogy. Okay. I get it. But can you imagine attaching a Ferrari to a covered wagon, and you have you have like, and it works? It's like, man, this thing is like sailing now, right? Uh, it's working. It's working for Michael Saylor and strategy. I mean, it's working. You cannot argue that he is stacking Bitcoin and he is ahead of everybody else. And so I don't want to be just like, hey, look how high the sky is, and look at the sky, isn't it blue, and all these flowery things about Bitcoin. Okay, look, we need to be 100% wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. And that is discern carefully, do not trust. You need to verify. You need to make sure that you're keeping your basics, you're safeguarding your keys. You're not taking a picture of those with your phone or anything other kind of electric device. Don't have them anywhere near any electric device or anything that's connected to the internet. You got to learn your basics first, and make sure that you're carefully stewarding everything that God has given you, including teaching your kids about Bitcoin. This is such a critical moment in history that there are so many millionaires that are out there that will not own an entire Bitcoin. They may have a portion of one. They may have, an opportunity to buy, and they might pass on it. There's going to be a lot of gnashing of teeth, I think. And we're going to see more difficult times, I'm sure. And we're going to be prepared for a lot of stuff. Some of we're going to be unprepared for, but take these things and just soberly understand that self-custody your Bitcoin, and you might get lulled into thinking that these Bitcoin treasury companies and these things are the way, and you can be promised all this yield, and you get smoke and mirrors and all this fancy stuff. And listen, there's bad actors out there, and they are masquerading as good people that are trustworthy. You might think that they're trustworthy, but everyone has a reputation. And sometimes the unsuspecting don't know their reputation, and there's going to be a lot of people get scammed. And so you got to be heads up and be um, very careful. Okay. There was recently a guy, I think it was a guy who had used Sparrow Wallet on the internet on his desktop or laptop, and then downloaded a Sparrow Wallet, apparently a lookalike Sparrow Wallet from the App Store, from on a phone, on a mobile phone. And the trouble is that Sparrow doesn't make a mobile phone Sparrow Wallet. And the problem is that as soon as he downloaded this, he trusted this thing because it had the Sparrow logo, and he trusted this wallet that he had downloaded. He thought was official Sparrow wallet, that was trustworthy, that he didn't verify, and apparently moved Bitcoin into that wallet, and immediately it was swept. It was a scam, and he got taken for apparently 7 Bitcoin. Gotta avoid these situations. That's why you don't get in a hurry to move your Bitcoin. You do things carefully, methodically. You understand where it's going. You know where it's coming from. You know where it's going to. You verify your addresses, double check, maybe triple check the addresses. And they're very long. The addresses are long, right? But you can double, triple check them. Make sure if you're moving any Bitcoin, make sure you're moving it carefully. And these are things that you have to practice, right? And this is something that I've had to learn how to practice. And we have to, I'm that first time, it sounds great. It sounds great. In theory, it sounds great. But until you actually get your first Bitcoin transaction where you actually moved your sats from here to here on layer 1, and you see it go from here to there, there's nothing like it. You understand what it's like to see a transaction go through the mempool, go from this wallet, go through the mempools. You see the transaction in the open source software. You can go and check that on mempool.space, but you can also see it arrive in the receiving wallet. So it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic to see that in real time. And when you do see it, you won't forget it. You'll know that it works. You'll know. And Lightning is Lightning is like that whole thing all over again, just in a different, it's like layer 2. Just so many great things that are being built in Bitcoin, and some of them are in beta. For those of us who were around for the beginning, the start of the internet, beta is like, okay, that's in development. It's being tested, right? But I always wanted to volunteer to do the beta testing, because it's like, hey, I'll be a guinea pig. I know this is under development, but I kind of want to know what's going on. I want to learn this before anybody else knows about this. So learning Bitcoin and, being in beta, as long as something's being beta tested, great. But, I would just say that, start at the beginning, start where you're at. You probably are in baby steps, but, you don't need to, you need to kind of start where you're at. Now, we've had, I've had a comment here a little while ago, and I wanted to get to this, and I apologize if this person isn't still in the chat. Please let me know if you are. But we got one here. This person, Hatton 93. He says, "Don't let a custodian hold it. I don't care how much you like them." Okay, so good advice. Okay, don't let a custodian hold them. Hold your sats. Okay, so what's a custodian? A custodian is like, an exchange. Okay. Um, you buy Bitcoin on Strike or River or Fold, or you buy Bitcoin somewhere. If you don't have your Bitcoin in cold storage, you don't have custody of your Bitcoin, right? So I think that's the point that Hatton 93 is making here, and that's a very good point, and 100% agree with that. And I would say that at the same time, people who are brand new to Bitcoin, they may not understand yet how to self custody their Bitcoin. And my recommendations, my comments, prior to tonight, and still are that not everyone is ready to self custody their Bitcoin when they first start. Okay, so if you're not ready to self custody your Bitcoin, and you just got in like this week or last week or a month ago, but you've purchased maybe, let's just say, $100 or $500 worth of Bitcoin, and it's sitting on the exchange. You have to know this. Okay, you have to know that that Bitcoin is it's vulnerable when it's on an exchange, meaning that if something happens, like the government could seize the Bitcoin, they could just decide, oh, wait, freeze all the accounts. The Bitcoin is no more Bitcoin is going to be moving off the exchange. We are going to freeze your Bitcoin. They could do anything like that if they wanted to. If there was something that happened in regard to the exchange goes down for maintenance, you might not be able to get your Bitcoin off there, and that could be a short-term thing, or it could be a longer-term thing. But the chances of that happening are, I don't know what the chances are, but anything's possible regarding, if your Bitcoin is sitting on an exchange, meaning your keys, you don't have your keys to your Bitcoin because you haven't moved it off of the exchange, and they require that you verify who you are, and they want to know that you're moving it. They'll have a wallet address that you're moving it to. So in terms of, later, that people will be able to see where that Bitcoin went. Okay, that's a public transaction that goes across layer one, and that can get seen, and that can be tracked by anyone. Okay, including government authorities, including pretty much anyone who wants to look at that transaction. So what are we saying here? So we're saying that it can be helpful to know that your Bitcoin is sort of like in a kind of transitory phase, because you bought the Bitcoin, it's sitting on the exchange, and you're maybe waiting until you get to the right point where you're ready to move it off there and into more self custody. Okay, so it's not on the exchange. It might be in a hot wallet like Sparrow Wallet on your laptop, but that's not in cold storage yet. Okay, so there's some trade-offs here. Everything that you do, there's some trade-offs. Okay, but if you were to ask me, well, I don't know. I don't want it on the exchange, but I also don't know that I'm ready for cold storage yet. Okay. Well, then this is where, you got to stay in the rabbit hole. You got to study why. Why is it bad to hold it on the exchange? And these are the reasons why. Because you don't have control over your Bitcoin. A lot of, there's the old, not to get into too many cliches in Bitcoin, but if you don't have your keys to your Bitcoin, you don't have your Bitcoin. Okay, not your keys, not your coins. Okay, that's the thing. That's the saying. So the idea is get your keys, get your Bitcoin in cold storage. And that's the goal. Okay, so we kind of summarize it that way, but not everybody's situation is the same. So, you know, just baby steps, get yourself some Bitcoin and then work on getting it in cold storage. Now, again, this is not something that's going to be really intuitive the first time you do this. I recommend, having somebody help you with getting it off the exchange, getting it into cold storage. Okay. And then from there, you can go into more in-depth multi-sigs or into like an inheritance protocol. There's a whole chain of events that can happen later after that. The best ways to hold it, et cetera, okay, in cold storage. And in order to do that, I would say, follow up with like the guys at bitcoincitadel.net, and we'll bring them up right here because I think it's worth looking at. And I want you to see where these guys go. Okay. Yep. So we'll go over here, share the screen, and I want you to see. I kind of bring this up. Pretty much, let's see, where are these guys? Their home screen. Yeah, so bitcoincitadel.net, and you've got the experts. Learn Bitcoin from the experts. These are guys that I know, and I think that I've worked with them. I think they're good guys. I'm going to continue working with them on my stuff that I have to need help with. Because I am not the expert. These guys are. Okay. So right now, again, your essential security bundle, you can get a hardware wallet setup, key management, and basic training. You can get the advanced protection bundle, which is a multi-signature solution, personal node setup, and comprehensive security protocols. Okay. And when it comes to, if you want to really get into Bitcoin and you've got a lot of money to put into it, generational wealth, you can actually do inheritance planning, multi-generational security, and ongoing support if something were to happen to you. And finally, there's all kinds of other things in terms of privacy and unique security needs and value for value payment options. I think there's just the sky's the limit with these guys, and I can't recommend them highly enough. So if you need to contact anybody over at Bitcoin Citadel, you can contact them at start@bitcoincitadel.net, or you can contact some of the educators that we have over there. The senior advisor Jor, there's Mike, there's Daniel. There's Noah and Craig and Alex too. Yep. So good bunch of people. I actually, full self-disclosure, I like these guys. I agreed to work with them. And I think it's 100% what you need to have is if you're new in Bitcoin, but you need to get into self-storage, self-custody, and in cold storage. I think you cannot go wrong because they believe in providing value, and I do too in everything that I do. So anyway, so the reason I recommend them is because I use them, and so there you go. That's my disclosure on that. Not financial advice, but I wouldn't say check them out if I didn't use them myself. So there you have it. Finally, I was going to say I went to the conference in Las Vegas, and I went by the Start9 booth. These guys were, and I asked for a T-shirt because I like them, and I run a Start9 node, and they're very good, and I don't get paid anything for them either. I don't get free equipment. I don't get free nothing. Pretty much everything I have to pay for. So there you go. But I would say that I would say you really can't go wrong if you're in a place where eventually And not if you're a new Bitcoiner, I would say that you need to stack Bitcoin. But if you're in a place where you've been in Bitcoin for a while and you're like, I think maybe I'm ready to start running a node. I want to help decentralize the network and stuff. Consider that. Consider that. It's a lot cheaper to do it if you get the Start OS software that I mentioned in the beginning of this podcast. But if you want to do your own, get your own hardware, you can do that too. And it's really your preference. So I would say, get off zero, get yourself some Bitcoin, and do this thing. Do this thing. If you're a Bitcoiner, if you're a baby boomer, listen to me. If you're a Bitcoiner, you're going to be a Bitcoiner after I get done with you. If you're a baby boomer and you haven't checked out any Bitcoin, you don't really think it's that important. I would encourage you, do some more research. Dig deep in. I'm gonna actually. I got one more recommendation. One more recommendation right here. You ready? Oh, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this one. This is something that I think is really, really good, and it's actually being done around the world. Okay. So we're gonna go to Bitcoin diploma. You ready? You ready to see this? Can you see this? Let's see what you can see. Nope, you can't see it. All right. So I've got to add that. And here we go. It's on the fly. We are doing video production capability for all the people who are going to enjoy Bitcoin diploma curriculum. Let's see right here. Here we go. Okay. We went to, you type in, if you type in Bitcoin diploma, you're going to see Bitcoin diploma course, my first Bitcoin. And if you go down here to my first Bitcoin at GitHub, you can see everything right there. Okay, too. And that's where you would download the curriculum directly from GitHub. But let's just say we wanted to go over here. And this explains what Bitcoin diploma is. It's an entire curriculum. It's a 10-week course on Bitcoin basics and all the things that you need to know about Bitcoin to get a good understanding of Bitcoin and Bitcoin related all this stuff. Let's go back to the search and we just go to Bitcoin diploma. This is the PDF version of the 10-week course. Okay, so this is actually the 2024 version, and it is absolutely one of the best curriculums, I think, in the world. And why do I think that? All right, so I'm just going to kind of share this with you because I think you need to know that it's there. You don't have to go and study this unless you want to. But the reason why I think it's really, really valuable in person is because if you're in a classroom and they're actually doing this, look here on the activity, okay? Right here. You see this? The activity, 5 questions on money. There's nothing like a group activity where you ask people like, what is money? And you're all sitting around in the room and you're going, whoa, I hadn't really thought about that. Money is like US dollars and, oh, well, money is what we say it is. And, you get all these different answers. It's great. It's great. The activity is like perfect in class, right? This is the way to go. And I would love to see this being taught in more places. Okay. Activity in the second week is the class discussion is what is money? That's the second week activity. Okay. You go into the definition of money, function of money, properties of money, types of money, psychology of money, and the second activity is time preference. Okay. This is you don't really see the value in this until you actually sit in on one of these classes and get this. It's so good. So good. So so for all you educators out there, you need to be teaching this class. And for all you people who are brand new in Bitcoin, you want to get in this class and be a part of one of these classes. It's really going to be sweet. And I can see this being taught in private schools, in homeschool curriculums, in uh, homeschool co-ops, um, maybe even public schools some days if they actually teach something that's really valuable for our kids. And by the way, they're already teaching this in El Salvador to elementary kids. Yeah. So this is not something you would see in American public schools. Mm-mm. Did they ever teach anything like this? Absolutely not. Activity in week 4, fractional reserve banking. Uh, hello, the fiat system, the monetary system by decree. No, friends, this is not something you would see in school. So this is the way. This is the way we need to be heading, and that is, teaching our kids, teaching adults, teaching people who have common sense, who can think through things, that you know, common sense understanding of Bitcoin and why do we need to know it is absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. You need to go 100% full afterburners on this. I want to see this happen. And the first people that I see that can post and send me a video of them teaching a class like this, I'll send you 1,000 sats, whoever it is. I want to see this being taught in American, uh, anywhere in America, and that's my promise to you. I will send you 1,000 sats, and I will prove that I've sent it to whoever can send me a video that's showing that they're actually teaching that class, Bitcoin Diploma, in America somewhere. Okay, so you got me on that one right there. So just wanted to wrap it up here. I mean, we've been going for a little over an hour, but I just had so much to talk about tonight. Sorry, I get kind of long-winded, but it's absolutely critical that we are serious about this. That we are not taking no for an answer. That you're voting with your feet. If you have a desire to run a node, I mean, my goodness, you can't get a better deal than running open source software on your own machine. Completely verified, and no one can cancel that. You can't cancel it. Can't be censored. It's it's free. It's free and open source. So, you know, you're free to vote with your feet, and it's still America, and it may not be free forever, but it is free still to be able to do that now. Hopefully, we'll see some really good things happening soon. I think we're seeing a lot of great things happening right now, but um, anyway, not a lot of comments in the chat tonight, but anyway, if you got any questions before I go, feel free to drop them in the chat right now. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to answer questions. Tell me if you like my oak flooring job in the back here that I did on the wall. Kind of go retro with the antiquing the oak flooring, and yeah. So just for all the people who need hope, and you're just kind of like, man, we are feeling the pain on this whole inflation thing. Like, I cannot encourage you if you're young and you're married. I mean, it might look difficult right now, but man, I would just keep shining the light, and man, kids, have more kids. Don't ask me why right now. I'll go off on a tangent and tell you all about it, why it's a good idea. But I can tell you, I'm so grateful for the family that I have, and that we had more kids than we had more kids than we thought we were ever going to have, and it's fantastic. It's absolutely the best thing. Um, just a family, a wonderful thing. I don't know why I'm telling you this too, but I've got a book here that I really love, and I would tell you that if you have any interest at all in like shepherding your family and doing that, this book right here is one that I try to live by. I mean, it's just a really really solid guy who he's in this book. He's calling and equipping men to lead their homes and lay down your life for your wife and stuff. I mean, it's really helped me a lot. I'm sure it's helped my wife too. But if that's sort of thing, if that's your sort of thing, then great. And if it's not, then just we'll just stick to Bitcoin. But anyway, it's really great to be with you all, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to do this and to be able to have some knowledge and be some passion to talk about Bitcoin. Again, looking forward to all the different things that are good. There are good things that are happening in Bitcoin. So anyway, we'll be looking forward to talking to you again soon.